Okay, here we go. We're recording. This is our lecture for Design 300. We're on our Google Meet. It's Tuesday the 12th. Um, I'm going to have to reschedule our Thursday meeting, so I'm going to put that at noon on Thursday, and it'll just be question and answer. There will be no new material to go over. I've got another meeting that's kind of jumped in on top of our regular Thursday class. But for now, here we go. Design 300. We're recording. It's the 12th, and we're on Google Meet. So this week, you'll see that we are up for our midterm review. I call it a review instead of an exam because it's sort of just like doing the work that you've done before, but I'm expecting you to do more and deeper because you've had a chance to think about things and see how they go. So the level's up just a little bit more over what you've done, and you'll notice that there's no reading list, there's no discussions, no simulations, no collaborations, because your time should be spent on the midterm review. So there will be a little bit of Revit. There is one thing about Revit. I'll post these recordings that show. The YouTube playlist is essentially empty. It will just have the recordings from the lecture. Okay, you can get me on my appointment calendar. And I put a grade estimator here. Some people freak out. What if I don't get 100%? This counts just the same as everything else, and so you don't have to freak out. And there's an estimator, and I'll show you how it works right now. Here it is, grade estimator. So if you type in your grades, let's say you got a 10 and a 9 and an 8 and an 8 and a 9 and then a 10 and a 10. This will help you know kind of, like, oh, what do I need on my midterm to keep my grade where I want it to be? Well, an 8.875 is really good. That's a B. That's a good, strong grade, and it isn't a problem. But maybe you go, oh, man, I got to shoot for an A. I better put my time in on this to get at least an 8 because I am going to be looking for more than what I've looked for before. Okay, I want I'll be looking at some real thought. This is a compilation of what you've learned. So if you've barely learned anything because you don't show me that you've learned anything, you might get a 6, which still, I mean, it's like, oh, what the heck? That's not killing you. Or maybe you'll get a 7. Okay, but maybe you'll do a little bit more. Get an 8, 9, or a 10. So this is just there to keep you from freaking out and to help you sort of gauge where you're at. There is a midterm review folder. You'll see that that one's not it. Let me go back to it and reopen it. And I've done a compilation, and you may see your work in here of what people have shown. So, as an example, you'll see a number of different sheets on water and a whole bunch of links that you can go to get that information and refresh yourself and remind yourself and see what's going on. And here's some about gas. And here's some about electricity. Okay, so these are some of the ones that were posted. And look at that. Here's a bunch of keywords that you can use and things you can think about and talk about. So those will help you, I hope, kind of think about your what you've learned and help you get some more information. Here's about grading. right? And more cool stuff. This is really kind of a cool one right here. Pre-construction and topography and excavation and point elevations, and here's a bunch of links. So this is all going really well, and you can look at this and help yourself make another another presentation. And you are welcome to use these or to go to the links and find even more. Okay, but you are able to use these if you want. So our next one is concrete. What is it? Okay, so there's a bunch of so there's just a lot of information. This was all taken from work that was submitted this semester. You know, post and pier footings, flooring, and then on to some more stuff. Okay, so here is the footing calcs. And as you look, well, I'll come to that in a minute. I'm going to close that up. So there was the estimator. Here's the stuff that you've got. So this is all available for you. So that's what you've got. Your to-do is just the presentation. That's it for this week. No discussions, no simulations, no collaborations, just the midterm review presentation. So let's take a look at it. Looks a lot. Look, you get 2 points just for filling this out right. Okay? And you just have to check whether you've seen these things, put some visualizations up here, and you're good. Our second one here, these are your instructions and those resource files that we were just looking at. So you can get them straight from in here too. But it's important to know the midterm is open book, open notes, open computer, open your brain. Requires some thinking, but here's the thing, yours only. Now, sharing information from another student other than what is provided in these is considered a false certification. And as you know, if you do a false certification of your work, you get a 0, and then I go back and look at everything else that you've done and see if those deserve a 0. And if I see a consistent pattern, you will be referred to the Office of Student Conduct through our dean. Okay, so be sure that you're only using your own work or things that you have found in these resources. Now, this is pretty heavy-duty resources. Okay, I mean, there's a ton of stuff in here. Okay, and you're going to be asked to do a synthesis on a couple of these, and you may not know what that means. So I've defined it for you. It means to take pertinent information from a wide range of sources that may each be focused on a small part of your topic and create a more complete presentation of the subject matter. You put it forward in a way that demonstrates your knowledge. Okay? So that's basically what a synthesis is when you see that you're asked to do it. So here's your instructions. Review each sheet. There's a bunch that are graded too. There's that one, that one, that one, that one. Okay? Follow the instructions on each page, and then you can erase those instructions. Once you've seen the instructions, you can erase them. Okay? Save or download this file. Remember, when you're done with it, When you're done, file, download as a PDF. And that PDF is what's submitted to Canvas. Now, while you're doing that, there is a Revit file that you need to submit also. So be sure to submit your PDF of this and your Revit file. Now, some people have been having a hard time making multiple submittals. Just let me know if you do. But you can submit more than one file at once. You can. I've seen it. I've done it. You can also resubmit an assignment. And it looks like you lose the previous one when you do that. But you don't. I see them all. So, but be sure that I get your PDF and your Revit file. In addition, as always, do your self-certification. Okay. You're allowed to ask questions in lecture, like now, via email or via Google Meet. You can, leave me a message on my office phone too, or whatever. Okay. You're not to discuss this with other people in the class. I'm the one that answers the questions. The midterm review that's supposed to be a compendium of your knowledge. Okay? I will be able to take questions through 5 o'clock on Friday. If you ask me questions on Saturday or Sunday, now, if you're freaking out, send me an email. But turn something in. Okay, even if it's missing something, and leave me a note when you submit it. Okay, I will often, if I see that it was just some technical difficulty, I'll let you fix it up and resubmit it or something like that. So long as you've turned in something on time. Okay, now some people have pre-cleared late work allowances due to some, pre-agreed things that are going to happen. And so if you have a pre-cleared late allowance, just put it in the late folder. Okay? Oh, you can always just put it in the late folder. But if it's pre-cleared, then I will not count it as late, even though it's in the late folder. Okay? So those are sort of the rules that we go by. Here's your resources that you get to use. Of course, you can go look online for other resources, but these really have plenty of links in them and do stuff. And the trick is to do the synthesis. So let's take a look at this first one. Okay, that's your instruction right there. That's what I'm going to grade you on, using your own previous submittals and the resources provided in this midterm review. Synthesize a presentation, and the topic is describe basic materials of construction. You'll notice that that is our first student learning outcome for the course. So you're showing me that you have met the first student learning outcome of the course. So here's some more detailed instruction. First of all, pretend that you want to teach what you've learned about materials of construction to somebody else who doesn't know anything about it. Okay? If you were going to do that, you would start with a list of what they should know, which is sort of like what you know, and then you would provide materials and images about that. So you would do annotations and images and links and things like that. Okay? Sort of like the things that I've provided to you through your reading. Here's a little bit more detail for you. For each of the construction phases that we've covered site work utility and site work grading or soil and foundations and flooring So we've done a bunch of different phases of construction. Synthesize information to make a thorough presentation of materials and components. So that's really, so you can call pipe or utilities and things like that. So as you look at them, you'll probably want to make a list and categorize them and organize them. And so you'll want to say where that material or component comes from, or where it's obtained, where it's used. So there's the where. Remember who, what, where, when, and why? So we've got a lot of that in there. There's the where. Here's the what. What is it used for? Here's a big one. What is done to ensure that the design works right when you're using that material? So if you're using soil for a building pad, you might say, and to ensure that the design works right, the building pad must be compacted to the geotechnical specifications so that it doesn't settle and form cracks in the foundation. Now there's a synthesis of 2 or 3 different things. A little bit about concrete, a little bit about soil, a little bit about compaction, and it really tells a good story. Okay, who does it or who uses it, when it's done, and why is it important to make sure that the material meets the design intent? Okay, so excuse me, use images and annotations, links, and you should probably add additional pages here. Okay, so you might go right click, duplicate a slide, and then get rid of some of this stuff as you do it. Up here, you might move this off to the side so that you can still see it and remember it, and then start doing your work and get rid of this when you're all done. So my guess is that most of you will put more than just one page on here, although somebody might be able to get everything down onto one page. Okay. So that's your first one. That's worth 2 points also. Describe basic materials of construction. And let me delete that slide. There we go. The next one is talking about master format specifications. That's another one of our student learning outcomes. So pretend that you wanted to teach what you learned about master format specs to somebody else who doesn't know anything about them. So again, you would start with a list of what they should know, and then you would provide materials and images about that. So my suggestion is that one day you write the list and write down, what you've already got. Oops, there's a little extra one there. You do a little piece at a time. You get started with, okay, what should they know? And then think about it a little bit more. And maybe they need to know this. And then what do you have that tells you about that already? Okay. And so your synthesis might include, again, who, what, where, when, and why, where they're used and where to find them, what they're used for, how they help ensure that the design works right, how they're organized, who uses them, when they're used in the process, and why they're an important part that is used to ensure that construction meets intent. And again, images, annotations, and links to source materials. Then again, you might choose to do 1 or 2 pages about this. It's up to you. But it should be a pretty good. I mean, we've done a bunch. We've done 3 or 4 weeks. We've included master format specs. We talked about what the different parts are and how to find things and where to look for them, and how the master format specs are organized and who uses them. So we've done a lot of work with that, and I think you can go back and really review and see some stuff. So this is not probably an hour or two to do this midterm review. It's probably 6 or 7 hours. Your next one won't take too long. It's using your own previous submittals and what we've provided. Create a project estimate for material and labor costs. And I think that's this one right here. Now there's a set of assignments. You only have to do one line. If I forgot your name, please let me know, but I think I got everybody. So you only have to do one line. So as an example, you might only be doing line 3, and you can either highlight it, say that's the line I'm doing, or you can get rid of the other lines. That's select, hold the shift down, select, right click, delete. So you could do something like that if you wanted. And then just make all of these calculations. Now, these ones aren't filled in for you like they were before. You're supposed to have some understanding of what those were. But you can calculate them out by hand if you want and type them in because you're only doing one row. And then here are some material and labor costs. The labor costs for these. So like right here, your labor, okay, what's your total labor cost based on $10 per cubic foot? And what's your total rebar labor cost on laying it in at $3.50 per foot? Okay, so this one probably won't take you too long. And your given would be this stuff, right? This and this and this are given, and then you can just do your whole thing for your calculated costs. There's the given and my results. And remember that yours are separate than everybody else's. Okay, and here's a Revit drawing. So you will access the template file and trace and fill in the hatches. So it's just like what we did last time. Very, very similar. Okay, and the image is already in there. And there's a sheet. You just have to put that image. You have to trace the image. The hatches are there. So this one is pretty much just like you did. And when you're done, save your Revit file as sheet 6, and the Revit file gets submitted right along with everything else. And I'm not going to demonstrate it. Okay? That'll be up to you to get into that file and look at it. So no demonstration on this one. Okay, you can go back and look at last week. It's very, very similar to what last week's was like. Okay, let's see. And then there's the rubric. Now, technical content, of course, accuracy, it needs to be accurate. Shows ability for independent work. So I want to see some fairly good depth in these and technically correct in that you're referencing the right things. Visual clarity. Remember, we've talked about avoiding putting things right down on corners, making sure that there's room around things. Things are nicely even. Maybe putting some borders around things. Making sure that it's linked properly, things like that. Okay? And if all I see on one of these pages is something like this, lots of empty space, is okay unless it's like, well, you only did one thing. Empty space is good, but there's an old saying: if a cluttered desk is the sign of a cluttered mind, what do you think an empty desk is? Sign of an empty mind. So I want to see that your mind is at least active in pulling some of these things together. Okay. So let me put that back. So visual clarity, nice colors, nice fonts, and you can see some of those in these. Okay, that's pretty nicely put together. That's pretty well put together. That one's well put together. That one's well put together. Maybe a touch close right over here, but pretty well put together. That one's nicely put together, but this might be just a little bit better over it because this like empty spot makes it look like there was something missing. And see these ones? These ones would want to, now I gave this thing full credit just so you know. But now as you look at it, you might want to erase these ones to make it appear like you've gotten everything in there. This makes it appear that you did not do some of the work, that there were links that were expected. So this one's pretty nice. This one's really nicely laid out, so we're getting nice layouts. Again, might have been nice to eliminate these two rows. This one's pretty good. So see, this one eliminated one of the rows. These keywords down here look really nice. These colors are matching up well. This one's really pretty clear and good looking. Here's another one that's looking pretty good. These two might be eliminated. Okay, so that's just nice work all the way around. So that gives you some ideas about what those might look like. This might have looked better down just a little bit. So I will be looking a little bit now at your visual clarity and your standard layouts to make sure that they're going well. And then annotations are provided. So if you look at a bunch of these, that's an annotation. It tells me what it is. That's an annotation. It tells me what's happening there. This is an annotation. It tells me that I should be focused on these materials that are shown here. Okay, so I want to have a clear understanding of what each image is supposed to impart. There were some that were in there that were very well written. They were more like mini summaries instead of titles. Very, very well done. But a novice reader who does not know anything about the subject matter should come away with some knowledge when they're done. Oops, here we are over here. And on the professionalism, again, fully understand the intent of the presentation. And then this one is you're better safe than sorry. Complete, in-depth, and focused. So this is where I'm raising the bar a little bit. You've had time to think about these and review them and get more information and just study more. So, and you don't have anything else to do this week except this presentation. So complete in-depth focus is going to be a little bit more heavily weighed than before. Okay. So there you go. So that's the same grading rubric. but I'm going to maybe pay a little bit more attention to clearly demonstrates full understanding of the material, making sure the professionalism is there. You've got plenty of technical content and a little bit of work on your on to make sure that your layouts are very pleasing to the eye. Okay, any questions right now about the rubric that can help other people who are not on right now? Do you guys have any questions about that? Okay, then let's see if there's anything else to do. We might be just about done. Pretty straightforward this week. Here's the submittal review template again. And of course, here is the site. As always, right, do your certification. And it's available now. It's due October 17th at 11:59 p.m. And my strong suggestion is that you go ahead and if there's for some reason like your Revit didn't work or something went wrong, turn in what you've got by that time and date, and just message me either by email or in your comment box when you do this to tell me why. And I may, because I'm more interested in you learning this stuff than in giving you a certain grade. I'll probably let you do a little bit more without penalty on being late. If you've got something in. Okay. Well, that's it. Pretty straightforward this week. Do you have any questions? Okay, then since there are no questions, I'll go ahead and stop the recording.